Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Predicted 23 for the game against the Tigers this Sunday. No injury report as yet. It's a Tuesday. We probably expect it to come out tomorrow. So we're going to wing this a little bit and we'll look at different types of teams that could be selected for the game against the Tigers. So the point of this Predicted 23 isn't to set a selected 23 in stone. It's to look at all the potential variables of who could be selected, because we are such a versatile side. There's injury, there's management, there's personal reasons. There's a lot of factors that go into selecting a team on a week-to-week basis. Therefore, we will put in multiple different sides into this Predicted 23, but we'll start with a baseline, which will be, so let's actually get the players that are probably ruled out and not flirt with them. So Bobby Hill seems like he's still going to be out against Richmond. I'm hearing that we're hearing that De Goey could potentially play VFL this weekend if he gets through the 2 training sessions. So we'll put him to the side as he's getting closer to selection. Jeremy Howe won't play. Dan Houston won't play. And I'm tipping this week, if Billy Frampton gets through Wednesday and Friday, I'm going to say Frampton is in. So that's going to be our first inclusion that did not play against Fremantle or Gold Coast. So that name is a welcoming sight, that's for sure. With Dan Houston out still, whether maybe we see this, we'll start here. Bruzzy, Darcy Moore, centre half back. Brendan, welcome, mate. What else have we got here? Quaynor. And Markov. I've been talking about Markov over the last few days. I just felt like he tried to do too much. I don't think he loses his spot, given where our side is at with availability. But he just needs to stick to what's kept him in this side in 2025. He came in through opportunity, through lack of availability. But he's held his spot over players like Will Parker, Jacob Ryan in the past, TJ, if you want to include him. And there's other wingers and whatnot who could play at halfback flank, which is sort of the role that Markov is occupying at the moment. Just did too much against Fremantle. And he's not really that guy. For me, he is simply in the side for his defensive awareness, and when he gets the ball, just do the simple things. But I thought he just tried to be Nick Dacos a couple times, and maybe it's good to see he's got this newfound confidence in his ability to use the ball, but I felt like in 2, 3, 4 instances against Fremantle, he just tried to do way too much. So here we have Markov on the bench. He'll stay in the side. Jack Crisp, who played 20% of the game in the midfield and the rest on the wing, so we start him on the wing. Lipinski was a little bit quiet. Did you guys feel he was a little bit quieter than what we've been used to? We didn't see Lipinski with opportunities in open space to lace someone out. The only time he did lace someone out, it was Mason Cox, and it was and rather than Mason Cox taking it in his hands, he tried to chest mark it and he dropped it, and it was all over from there, wasn't it, for Mason Cox? DC, one of 3 players you could argue were best on ground on the weekend. Pendles was good. Pendles was just Pendles. He wasn't amazing, but he certainly wasn't bad. I thought he was just good. Nick Dacos, I feel like this could be a game that Nick Dacos potentially gets rested in. We'll watch this space. We'll put him here, but I feel like most of you would agree that this could be potentially a game. With Fly citing that he stated that in the press conference leading up to the game against Fremantle, that we're looking at managing his loads at some point, whether it's through training or gameplay. So we will get there. Ned Long, maybe? He's always in the midst of the contest, so I'm wondering if he's just a little bit battered and bruised. And if there's... Look, I know we're over the whole management things, but the reality is we're playing Richmond, and as much as I respect the team, as much as I'd like to see our best 23 go out there, I feel that the selection committee will be resting players. Players, I'm not too sure, but I feel like this will be the last game where we will rest players. From there, it's all systems go. It's Brisbane, it's Hawthorn, it's Adelaide, it's Melbourne. It's a big 4 weeks leading into the final series. We just got to go bang, bang, bang. Get the form. Okay, maybe we do this. Still side bottom. Lockie Sullivan was okay. Kicked a goal. Was all right in some stoppages. This is where it gets interesting. Membry will be another welcome inclusion for sure. McCreary, wow, how good was it to see this guy back? Jamie Elliott was, he kicked 2 goals too. Would have liked to have seen more opportunities through stoppages in our forward 50. We just didn't really convert from stoppages very much in a very high forward half stoppage game for us. Would have liked more return there. If we had a genuine tap ruckman who just dominates that space, it would have been a different return in the forward 50 stoppages, but we know that generally. I mean, Darcy Cameron probably stayed out of most of those forward 50 stoppages. If you guys can help remind me in the chat. And I'm sure Mason Cox and McStay would have been the guys in the forward 50 really working with that. But I feel like if we are dominating forward half territory, we had over 60% of the game spent in our own forward half. If you recognize that as a team, do you just bring someone in like Mason Cox to take the load of these 450 stoppages? I have to watch back the game. I can't quite remember, but that's just a little side note there. Myercheck started like a house on fire, kicked 2 goals in the first quarter, couldn't miss, and then unfortunately, I think he missed 2 shots. Did he miss 2 shots in that fourth quarter? And that's just the difference between winning and losing in this environment. Lockie Schultz and Bo McCreary, wow. Seriously. And then, mate, I think someone said Fly was on the radio today and was hinting at maybe one of the other big M's being rested. Maybe that's McStay. Maybe it isn't. Steen has to play this game. So we could be looking at maybe Darcy Cameron being rested as well. All right. So I've left a couple spots here. So Perryman, Pez, we call him the Pez dispenser. So Will Hoskin-Elliott, we'll consider him. We shall consider Sullivan. Do we dare bring this name into conversation? Do we bring this guy's name into conversation? Maybe. No, I don't think so. This could be a name. Yeah. This is where it gets interesting, right? This guy, sorry. You know. Fly said in his post-game press conference that we should expect to see Tom Mitchell back. So maybe he truly was being managed, or someone else here is being managed. Therefore, we'll see Tom Mitchell back in the side. Look, I don't think it's wise to... I'm not a fan of resting anymore, but I do, like I said, I feel like we are going to rest players. I think we could see Nick Dacos being rested. I really do. And just for the purpose of this predicted 23, I am going to do that. That's something I will do. So we'll have him rested. And that brings in Tom Mitchell. Or maybe Ned Long. I just feel like Nick has been battered and bruised. And his running numbers haven't been the same. But that game on Sunday, it definitely shown that light week of training, Nick was back. 43 touches, a goal. I'm telling you, watch him at the ground. He kicks the ball to his intended target, and he will run 80, 100 meters, whatever it is, to get to that next contest, and he leaves his opposition in the dust every single time. I'm just going to go with Nick Dacos. I think I'm going to go Nick Dacos here. I have a feeling. A feeling, we'll call it. So we have these three out, which means, so that makes Frampton a green. That makes Tom Mitchell a green. That makes Membry a green. Ed Allen. How do we feel about Ed Allen? Do you reckon Sidebottom or Pendlebury will be rested this week? Nick will play. He has a Brownlow to win. All right. We all know how stubborn Nick Dacos is. Looking at how he played against Fremantle. All right, we'll do this. For the balance of the team as well, we'll go Ned Long out. And Tom Mitchell can be a straight in for Ned Long. And we can see from there whether Tom Mitchell has any chance to retain his spot with Ned Long resting. Maybe that's something we can consider. I think we keep Will Hoskin-Elliott as the sub, maybe. And then Sullivan was good enough to keep his spot, I think. But I do see potentially these two players also coming into the picture. How? I'm not sure. That would be contingent on if we rest any more players. I know, but it's like, try tell Nick to rest. Try tell Nick that he should take a week off and potentially hinder his chances of winning a Brownlow on top of everything else, on top of wanting to play. He just wants to play. Also, Rowan still kicked 4 goals in the VFL, right? Ed Allen had 11 touches and a goal in the AFL. Rowan Steele had 16 and 4. So there's 3 players here that could definitely slide in against this Richmond side. So we have 3 ins and 3 outs. We could expect McStay to potentially be rested. Nick Dacos, there's an argument. Steele Sidebottom rested recently. Pendles was a sub recently. I'm probably looking at DC as a player who could also be rested, coming in for Steen. I don't think Steele Sidebottom needs a rest just yet. Didn't he just have a week off before the Gold Coast game or something to that extent? Jamie Elliott, has he rested? So, look, there's so many variables, right? So we will consider them. If Jamie Elliott is a rest, then I think Hayes could come in for sure. Imagine McStay's rested, AJ in. Could you imagine that? Would you go at this point, would you go Noah Howes or give AJ one more run? That would be intriguing, wouldn't it? Because beyond all of that, I'm looking at the back line. Is there anyone else we could consider to be rested and have Will Parker? I don't think so. I don't foresee that necessarily happening. Illaru Smith still nursing a foot injury. These are players that could come in. I'm not saying these guys will all come in and X amount of players will be rested. I'm saying, by the way, I'm thinking if Billy gets rested, you could see Will Hayes. If McStay was to be rested, I'd say it could be AJ or Howes. So that's sort of what I was pointing. I'm not saying all these players are going to come in and we're going to rest 6 players. Definitely not saying that. You guys reckon Howes over AJ? Howes over AJ? Would love to see AJ have a chance. Rest Jamie when Bobby's back. Interesting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the predicted 23. And as always, go Pies.